And good evening, everyone. Really appreciate you jumping on the KTVU live stream tonight on this huge election night in this country. I'm Alex Savidge in the KTVU newsroom, and obviously all the focus on the presidential race nationwide. But here for the next couple of hours, we are going to get you local election results and keep you up to date on a lot of important results that are coming into our newsroom as the polls have just closed here in California. We're going to get you up to speed on congressional races, key congressional races here in the Bay Area, also state Senate and assembly races as well that we're keeping an eye on, and of course those important statewide propositions as well. 12 propositions that are on the ballot here, and of course we are going to be getting results here shortly as the polls have just closed in California. Also going to keep an eye on some of the mayoral races around the Bay Area tonight. So for the next couple of hours, we're going to be on here live, bringing you poll results as they come in to our newsroom here. We have a team of folks, of course, at KTVU bringing you these election results as we get them. So we're going to be streaming here for the next couple of hours until 10 o'clock tonight with all of your local election results. Now, we want to point out this is going to be an interactive experience here. So if there are any key races where you live that you want us to keep an eye on, just let us know about it. We are going to be looking at some races that you might be interested in. You can send us an email to KTVU newscomments@foxtv.com. You can also just send me a tweet directly at Alex Savidge KTVU if there are certain races that you want us to keep an eye on for you. So again, we are obviously keeping tabs on the presidential race. We have full coverage up at KTVU.com right now. But here on the live stream and online for the next couple of hours, we're going to keep you up to date with local election results. Again, the polls have just closed in California. We are expecting to get results in some of these congressional races and on some of those statewide propositions. As soon as we get some of those results, we will bring them to you live here on this stream. We'll be back shortly. All right, welcome back here to the KTVU live stream here on election night as we bring you local election results from here in the Bay Area and across California. Obviously, though, we still continue to follow the presidential race that is unfolding tonight across the country. Still very early in the count, but as the polls have just closed in California a few minutes ago at 8 o'clock tonight, we do have results from California that we want to put up onto the screen here and show you that Joe Biden has won the state of California, defeating President Trump, as you can see here, handily. 76% of the vote is what Biden has won. President Trump got 22% of the vote here in California. Now, obviously, you see 3% of precincts reporting here, and even though it is still early, though, the projections are that Joe Biden will take the state of California and all of its electoral votes. But, of course, California was expected to go to Joe Biden, so nothing surprising here, obviously, as we await the results in some of the key battleground states across the country here. Now, just to recap, obviously, all eyes on the presidential race tonight, and rightly so, on this historic election. But here on the live stream on KTVU, we're going to be bringing you election results from the Bay Area and, of course, from around California here as we get those results. And we are expecting some of those results to be coming in here soon. We're going to be focusing on some congressional races, obviously also state assembly, state senate races as well. And, of course, all of those statewide propositions that voters were deciding on during this election cycle. Again, we hope to get some of the early results being reported by some of the counties here in California shortly here, and then we'll get those results to you as soon as we can. Also going to follow some of the mayor's races as well. And with that being said, this was mentioned a short time ago, but we want to point it out one more time that we do want to hear from you. If there's any races that you would like us to be focused on or throw the results up on the screen, you can let us know here. This is how you can make a request. Send us an email, KTVU News Comments at foxtv.com, or go ahead and tweet me directly. It's Alex Savidge, KTVU. So again, we're here on the KTVU live stream for the next couple of hours. Obviously, we have full coverage of the presidential race ongoing on air at KTVU.com. But here online, we're focusing on your local election results. We are awaiting some of those first returns in some of the local races and the statewide propositions as well. As soon as we get some of those early numbers, and I'm being told now, actually, we have our first results here of one of the local races into the KTVU newsroom here. So we're going to get this up onto the screen. This is, I'm sorry, this is what, Brett? This is a state senate race? Okay, the results are in for Senate District 3. And here you see, we'll put those up on the screen. This is Senator Bill Dodd, State Senator Bill Dodd, and you can see right there, he is winning easily tonight, 77% of the vote for the Democrat, Senator Bill Dodd. The Republican, Carlos Santamaria, with 23% of the vote and 21% of the precincts reporting here. This is a state Senate district that is up in the North Bay, includes parts of wine country as well as parts of Contra Costa County. And State Senator Bill Dodd has been in that seat for some time here. And it would appear, based on some of these early returns, that the state senator is on his way or headed in the direction of a victory once again tonight. But we'll, of course, continue to monitor that race and all of the other local races happening around the Bay Area and across California, including those statewide propositions as well. Of course, a lot of the focus on Proposition 22, what was the most expensive ballot proposition in the history of California, the most expensive measure in the history of California, having to do with how rideshare drivers are classified, whether they should be classified as independent contractors or not. So we'll keep an eye on that. Again, we're going to have more local election results here on the KTVU live stream throughout the evening, all the way up until 10 o'clock tonight. While, of course, we know that you are keeping your eyes on the presidential race, we got you covered here online at KTVU.com with all your local election results. As soon as we get more results, we'll be right back with you. All right, welcome back here to the KTVU live stream tonight on election night as we bring you live election results from many of the local races. And now you're seeing some of the statewide propositions. We're getting some of the early results from those. This is Proposition 14 having to do with stem cell research. And you can see right now it's pretty close here. 51% of voters are saying no to Prop 14, and 49% of voters are in favor. This would authorize $5.5 million in bonds for stem cell research to treat diseases like Alzheimer's and dementia. But as you can see there, when you look at the number of precincts reporting right now, only 2% of the vote is in here, so still early on. Now we go to Proposition 15, which has to do with education funding. This is also a property tax reform measure. You can see there on your screen the no votes, 55% of people opposing Proposition 15. And 45% of those who cast their ballots are in support of this measure. This would up the commercial and industrial property taxes, and the revenue would be going to local governments and schools as well. We have more results from another statewide proposition, and there were many of them this time around. Here's Proposition 16. This is a proposition having to do with affirmative action. This would repeal Prop 209. From 1996 that banned government and public institutions from using affirmative action in the hiring process. And you can see 60% of voters right now opposing Proposition 16, 40% of voters in favor of Proposition 16 here. So this would if the no votes prevail here, this proposition does not look like it's on its way to passing here. But again, still early in the count, so we'll wait to see how that plays out. Next, we'll move along here. This is Proposition 17, and this would allow parolees to vote. Even those on parole for a felony conviction would be able to vote in elections here, and 55% of voters in California say that they do want Proposition 17 to pass, and they would like parolees to have the right to vote here. 45% of people who cast their ballots oppose this proposition, but again, these are just early returns. 2% of the vote in right now, and of course, it's unclear exactly where those where those counties are coming from, or where the votes are coming from, which counties they might be coming from. We'll tell you here about Proposition 18, and you can see here this is a proposition that would grant some 17-year-olds the right to vote. This would allow 17-year-olds to vote in primaries if they would turn 18 by the time of the general election later in that year. And you can see here 60% of voters in California oppose Proposition 18. Based on these early returns, 40% of the votes that have been tabulated so far are in favor of Proposition 18. So you can see that the no votes are overwhelming the yes votes there, but we'll wait and see how things play out throughout the night. Now we move Proposition 19. Some of the early returns coming in on Prop 19 here, and just to refresh your memory here, this is probably one you went over on your voter pamphlet here, but to remind you, this was a somewhat complex rule change to the property tax rules here. This would allow, among other things, it would allow older homeowners over 55 to transfer their current tax assessment to a more expensive home several times over. Also would eliminate a tax exemption when someone transfers a home to a child or a grandchild. Right now, some of the early returns here, 53% of voters in California in favor of Proposition 19 here, changing the property tax rules, 47% of voters saying no. And here you go, some more early returns coming in on Proposition 20. And this has to do with parole restrictions here. You can see 58% of the votes that have been counted so far are in opposition to Proposition 20 here. 42% are in favor here. And this would reclassify certain crimes as being able to be charged as either misdemeanors or felonies. Also would expand mandatory DNA collection for those convicted of certain misdemeanor crimes. think we may have a couple more propositions here. I mean, I know there are some more here. I'm just wondering if we have the results, the early returns. And here you go, Proposition 20. This one has to do with rent control here, and there's a lot of opposition here, at least among the ballots that have been counted thus far. 65% of voters opposing Proposition 21, which would allow local cities and jurisdictions and municipalities to put more rent control in place for various kinds of housing, including single-family homes, condos, and townhouses here. And it looks as though many voters so far in these early returns opposing Proposition 21, allowing for more rent control to be put in place. And here's the proposition that so many folks are focused on here. This is Proposition 22, having to do with how those rideshare drivers, the Uber drivers, the Lyft drivers, how they are going to be classified, whether they're classified as independent contractors or as full-time employees. This is that ballot measure that Uber and Lyft and so many other companies poured millions of dollars into trying to pass here. And you can see, at least in these early returns, 15% of the precincts reporting, or 15% of the vote in right now, and 62% of voters in California so far say they're in favor of Proposition 22. And you can see 38% of the vote is in opposition here. Again, this would reclassify, if this passes, it would reclassify rideshare and delivery drivers as contract workers as opposed to full-time employees. So there's a rundown of some of the early results, very early preliminary results for some of those statewide propositions here. We're going to continue monitoring those propositions as well as other local congressional races and statewide races as well. We'll be back shortly with more results here on the KTVU live stream. All right, everyone, just appreciate you checking in on the KTVU live stream tonight, where we are bringing you all of your local election results here online tonight. And you see here we have some of the results coming in from the city of Oakland here, some of the city council results, and we're putting these up on the screen because one of our viewers reached out to us on Twitter here tonight. Ronnie, I hope I'm saying it right, tweeted me and was asking if we could put up some of the City of Oakland election results. So we got those and got them on as quick as we could. So again, we are taking requests tonight. If there are key races where you live that you'd like us to zero in on and get the results up on the live stream tonight, we'd certainly be happy to try to do that. So you can tweet me at AlexSavageKTVU.com, or you can send us an email at KTVUnewscomments@foxtv.com. We're going to keep putting some of these election results up here. These are election results from the Fairfax Town Council in Marin County, also requested by another Twitter user tonight. All right, welcome back to the KTVU live stream here on election night, and we are monitoring local election results from around the Bay Area and across California with statewide propositions that are on the ballot right now. And you can see we're focusing in right now on some of the local congressional races. The Democrat Mark DeSaulnier from Contra Costa County, he has a commanding lead here in these early returns with 78% support here from voters. We should also tell you here we're still awaiting the first returns on the House race involving Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Here's results for the House race in the East Bay, and the Democrat Barbara Lee looks like she is well on her way to victory tonight. We can also tell you, speaking of the House of Representatives in the 14th Congressional District on the peninsula, the Democrat Jackie Speer, there you see the results. She has been confirmed as the winner here. The AP says that she has won a re-election here in the 14th District with 83% support from voters here. So again, Representative Jackie Speer, the Democrat, has won re-election. More results here. Eric Swalwell with a commanding lead here in his East Bay House district here, and appears on his way to a re-election as well. Coming up, we have some requests from folks around the Bay Area tonight to check in on some of the mayoral races, including someone who left me a note here on Twitter and wanted to know about the mayor's race in Antioch. So we're going to try to get that race up, and some other mayoral contests happening around the greater Bay Area as we continue along here with live election results here on the KTVU live stream tonight. We appreciate you checking in. All right, you are watching election results streaming live for you tonight at KTVU.com here, and we want to get you to some of the mayor's races around the Bay Area here and get you some of the returns that are coming in. And this is one race that was requested by a viewer on Twitter wanting to know about the race for mayor in the city of Antioch, and it looks as though Lamar Thorpe headed for victory in that race. So we're going to run down a few more of the mayoral races, and then we have some of the city council races from various cities across the Bay Area. Again, we're streaming live election results for you here at KTVU.com. And if there are any races you'd like us to check in on, you can certainly let us know on Twitter or send us an email. And the email is KTVUnewscomments@foxtv.com, or my Twitter's Alex Savidge KTVU. So you can let us know what races you're interested in. We'll keep putting these results for some of the mayoral races up on your screen here, so you can keep checking in while you are obviously focused on the results coming in that presidential race, the all-important presidential race as well. We have full coverage at KTVU on air. All right, welcome back here to the KTVU live stream on this election night, and we are showing you election results from some of the important local races all across the Bay Area here. We have results here on your screen from some of the mayoral races. We're also keeping an eye on state Senate and assembly races, those important statewide propositions. We have results for those that are forthcoming here shortly. We're also keeping an eye as well on congressional races here in the Bay Area. So we are trying to get you updated on all of these local races. While, of course, we know obviously a lot of the focus on the presidential race, but we want to make sure that these local races are not overlooked here. So we want to key in on some of these races in places like Oakland here. You can see the city council race. Those results, some of them are coming in right now. If there are any races that you would like us to keep an eye on, or that you're focusing on tonight, and you want to get the results here up on the live stream, you can certainly let us know by sending us either an email, KTVUnewscomments@foxtv.com, or you can send me a tweet. Alex Savidge KTVU is my Twitter handle, and you can let me know about some of the races you'd like to hear about. Again, we're following all of the local races for you here. Congressional races, statewide propositions, we're getting some of those results as well. I did have a viewer wanting to know about the mayoral race in Antioch here, and a short time ago she tweeted and asked me about how that race is looking here, and there you go. The results up on your screen here, and as we said a short time ago, it looks, I'm going to pull it up here. It looks as though, yeah, we have 97% of the precincts reported, and Lamar Thorpe, councilman there in the city of Antioch, looks as though he's on his way to victory here in the race for the mayor of Antioch. So there you go. Someone let us know that they wanted us to focus in here on the Antioch mayor's race, and we put those results up on the screen here as soon as we could get them to you. So let us know if there's something you got your eye on tonight outside of of course the huge presidential election that's unfolding across the country. We want to make sure that the local races don't get overlooked. So we'll bring you results as we get them here on the KTVU live stream, and we'll check back in here as needed. All right, you're watching KTVU's live stream here on election night, bringing you local election results from important races in the Bay Area and, of course, those statewide propositions. 12 of them on the ballot here during this election. And here you see some of the results on your screen, starting with Proposition 14. And again, while we are covering the presidential race on air at KTVU.com, we have you covered with local election results online here at KTVU.com. You can see Proposition 16 looks like it is trailing here. 54% of voters opposing an end to a ban on affirmative action. That was a much talked about proposition heading toward Election Day. And here's Prop 19, the results for that. Well, you just saw there, it was in the lead with 53% support, and that would allow older homeowners to transfer their tax assessment when they buy other homes. And that, there you go, we have it back up on the screen there. You can see that that's winning by 6 percentage points here with just 2% of precincts reporting right now, but that was a much talked about proposition that would allow older homeowners, including victims of wildfires here in California, to be able to transfer the current tax rate that they pay, the current tax assessment on their home when they go to buy a more expensive home, and they could do that several times if this passes here. And again, it has 53% support so far. All right, this is another proposition that a lot of people have had their eye on in California. That's Prop 22. This is the proposition having to do with how app-based drivers, rideshare drivers, Uber, Lyft drivers are classified here. And as you can see, it is getting 57% support right now, and it is in the lead. And this is a proposition that would reclassify rideshare and delivery drivers as contract workers as opposed to being full-time employees. And this was so much money was poured into this proposition here by Uber, by Lyft, by a number of other companies here to be able to reclassify those rideshare drivers as contract workers as opposed to full-time workers here. So we're going to really keep an eye on this race tonight, the most expensive ballot measure in California history. And we'll remind you that if you are keeping your eye on a local race, whatever it is, if it's a city council race where you live, a mayoral race where you live, or you want to know how your local representative in Congress is doing tonight, you can let us know what race you would like us to check in on here on the live stream here. We're going to be going for another 45 minutes. So send us an email, KTVU news comments at foxtv.com, or you can tweet me directly, Alex Savidge, KTVU, and I would be glad to try to work on getting some of those results for you. And speaking of requests, my producer is telling me that we did get a request for the results in Half Moon Bay. I'm trying to look here and remind myself who, Valdir, looks like Valdir, and I hope I'm saying it right, but he requested a short time ago, he wanted us to look at the Half Moon Bay City Council race. So Valdir, here you go. Ask and ye shall receive. 100% of the precincts reporting there in Half Moon Bay, and you can see Joaquin Jimenez is going to win this race here for Half Moon Bay City Council District 3, beating out Adam Eisen tonight. So again, if you got any local races, we'd love to check in on them. Election night is it's a wonderful thing here, as you could really key in on some of these local races all over the region. So let us know what you are looking at tonight, what races you're following, and we'll try to check in on them as well on the live stream. Appreciate everyone who's checked in so far on Twitter and online.
Hello, everyone. I'm Julie Hayner. Let's get straight to some local numbers. KTVU political reporter Greg Lee joins us now with a look at some early results for state propositions. Greg.
Yeah, Julie, good evening. 12 statewide ballot measures on the ticket. We start with the prop that more than $200 million has been spent on. It will determine the future of Uber, Lyft, and other app-based delivery drivers. With just 30% reporting, this is the most expensive ballot measure in state history. So far, 58% of the vote in California is yes, 42% of the vote is no. A reminder, propositions need more than 50% of the vote to pass. Prop 22 asks whether the so-called gig economy will be able to keep drivers classified as independent contractors or treat them as employees, effectively exempting them from AB 5 that was passed at the beginning of this year. Now look at Prop 15. A lot of money spent on this one as well. 11% reporting. If passed, it will raise taxes on some commercial and industrial property owners across the state, effectively creating a split roll. So far, 52%, very close, have voted yes. 48% have voted no. Now, Prop 16, it would restore affirmative action, allowing the state to grant preferential treatment on the basis of race in college admission, government hiring, and contracting. So far, 39% reporting, 54% voting no, 46% voting yes. Again, a very close proposition measure here. Now to the race everyone is watching tonight. Who will be the next president of the United States? A close race nationwide, but the results here in California really never in doubt as expected. The Golden State called for Joe Biden and Senator Kamala Harris immediately as polls closed at 8 p.m. 55 electoral votes to Joe Biden. Here's some numbers. 45% reporting. Joe Biden comfortably in the lead, 68% to President Trump's 30%. Julie, back to you.
All right, we'll check back in with you a little bit later on this evening during the 10 and 11 o'clock hours. Greg, thank you. Well, Manny's in San Francisco's Mission District is hosting an election night watch party this evening. Masks are required and social distancing rules are being enforced. KTVU's Amber Lee joins us now. She's live at Manny's with a look at how it's all going. Amber.
Hi, Julie. This is a watch party for Democrats. By special permit, Valencia Street right here is closed off between 15th and 16th Street. A crowd of about 200 people have gathered here to show their support for former Vice President Joe Biden. Now, people are wearing masks, sitting at tables set up with 6 feet apart. Right now, you can see people are just listening to a speaker. Each guest paid $18 to get in. They were given Biden and Harris signs. A lot of people tell me, despite the results coming in favor of Biden, they are simply not ready to celebrate, given what happened 4 years ago. But like I said, they are optimistic but nervous, and they're just watching and waiting to see the final results from all across the country. Julie?
Yeah, I don't know if you can hear me. It's kind of loud down there, but has the crowd remained fairly steady? I think you said you had to have a ticket or a reservation in order to get in. I was just wondering how long people are planning to stay.
Well, they started coming in around 5. It's 4 hours and counting, and nobody looks like they're leaving. And I think that's because the results are trending towards Biden. And so the people are just watching closely, very passionate about their support for the former vice president. So I think people aren't going to leave quite yet. Earlier, the organizer told me that it would depend on how the elections go. So that's the latest from here, Julie.
All right, Amber, thank you. And thank you for joining us. That is a quick look at your local races. We'll see you with much more coming up tonight at 10. Good night.
All right, appreciate you checking in here tonight on the KTVU live stream. We're putting up election results from around the Bay Area, and we are updating statewide propositions, and we're updating the situation with the supervisors races in San Francisco for you tonight. Someone reached out to us on Twitter and was asking for some of the results from San Francisco. And as you can see here, they are starting to come in. District 3, you can see there, Aaron Peskin looks like he's doing pretty well here early on as he tries to get reelected to that seat on the Board of Supervisors. The results here from District 5 in San Francisco. We were waiting a little while to get some of the results from San Francisco, but now we are starting to get returns from the city here. So we're going to get those to you. I had a couple people who were reaching out to us looking for some of the early results from the city. So here you go. And again, send us a message. You can email or tweet us. You can tweet me, Alex Savidge, KTVU, and we're going to try to get results from any local races that you are looking for information about. We're doing our best to try to get those results up on the live stream here as quickly as we possibly can. So there you go, the email on your screen, or you can send me a tweet, and we are continuing to follow. Again, local mayor's races, supervisors races, city council races, of course, congressional races. We're still obviously following some state senate and assembly races from here in the Bay Area, and of course, those 12 statewide propositions that voters are deciding on this election, and so we have some early returns on some of those propositions. Nothing definitive yet, but we're going to run back over some of those propositions soon here. But here you go. Here's the latest information on the Board of Supervisors race in San Francisco. And also here is another race that was requested by one of our viewers here. So let's put it up there. That was Measure RR, the Caltrain tax on the peninsula. And also another instant request, somewhat instant. Someone asked for the Richmond City Council race. So here you go. I'm looking to see who that was. Who asked me about that? Well, I can't find it. But in any case, here you go. Some of the local races from the city of Richmond. So that's how it works. We're trying to get local election results up as quickly as we can. As soon as we get the numbers, we're going to try to put them up here on the live stream. So thanks so much for having us on tonight. However you're watching, if you have us up on your tablet or your phone, while you might be watching the presidential race and those results come in. This is a good way to stay updated. All right, welcome back here to the KTVU live stream. And we are live in the newsroom tonight. You can see here we have some results, some local results from Bay Area counties in the presidential race. And a lot of these results obviously not entirely surprising, but this is how things have shaken out in the Bay Area in the race for president. And of course, Joe Biden has already been declared the winner here in the state of California. That happened, boy, just moments after the polls closed here in our state. Biden was declared the winner in California. But as the eyes of the country are on the presidential race right now, here on the live stream tonight, we're trying to keep you updated on a lot of the local races, including those dozen statewide propositions that voters are deciding on right now. You can see some of them, boy, neck and neck there for Proposition 15. And this is another much talked about proposition that appears to be failing. That was Proposition 16. That was having to do with affirmative action and repealing a ban on affirmative action. Proposition 18 here. And we'll talk a second here about Proposition 19 because the results there are interesting, and that's one that a lot of folks have their eye on there, having to do with changing property tax rules. And I appreciate you guys going back to it in the control room there, but this would allow older homeowners, including victims of wildfires in California, to be able to keep their current tax base on their homes or properties and be able to buy more expensive homes. And it would eliminate some other tax exemptions when someone transfers a home to a child or a grandchild. So this is a proposition that's got a lot of attention. You can see right now 53% support, but it's still early in the returns. We'll move along here with some more results on some of the statewide propositions. And here's the latest information on Proposition 22, the much talked about proposition here, the most expensive ballot measure in state history here. And about half the precincts, close to half of the precincts reporting right now. And you can see Prop 22 is out to a pretty sizable lead right now, 58% support here. And if Prop 22 does pass, this would mean that those rideshare drivers, Uber and Lyft drivers, would be reclassified as contract workers as opposed to being full-time employees. And there would be a whole new system of wages and labor rules and healthcare subsidies for them if this does in fact pass here in the state of California. That is one that a ton of money has been poured into, especially by Uber and Lyft here. So about half the precincts reporting. We are certainly keeping our eyes on Prop 22 tonight. All right, you're watching the KTVU live stream tonight here on a very important election night. You were seeing some of the local results for the presidential race there, but we are really keeping our eye more on the local races and the statewide propositions. So we'll give you one final rundown here. We're going to wrap up the live stream shortly here at 10 o'clock in time for the 10 o'clock news. But here's one last wrap up of where things stand with these statewide propositions. There's Prop 15, and boy, it is evenly split there in terms of the vote, 50%, 50%. Here's Prop 16. This would end the current ban on affirmative action for hiring at public universities. And you can see there it is losing at this point. 54% of voters saying no. And here's Prop 17, and this would, if it were to pass here, but it is losing at this point. Oh, beg your pardon, I got ahead of myself a little bit, but Prop 17 has to do with allowing parolees to vote. Here's Prop 18, which would allow some 17-year-olds to be able to vote in primary elections, and this is, we have here 54% of people saying they don't want this to be the case here, with 50% of the vote in. Here's the very early results for Prop 19. And we've talked a lot about Prop 19 that would change the property tax rules here in California and allow older homeowners to transfer their current tax assessment over to buying new homes, and eliminate some other tax exemptions as well for transferring properties. This was a big one here. Here's Prop 20 that would alter some of the criminal codes in California. And here you see a proposition to allow local cities to put more rent control rules in place, and looks to be going in the wrong direction here, potentially down to defeat here, even though just 2% of the precincts are reporting right now. And here you go, one of the big ones here, Proposition 22, having to do with the classification of app-based drivers here, Uber and Lyft drivers. And you can see 58% of the vote so far in support of Prop 22 that would reclassify those rideshare drivers as contract workers. And so, yeah, this is a huge proposition, one of the big ones. A lot of money, hundreds of millions of dollars poured into Prop 22 here, and it looks as though it is on its way to passing here. But of course, we still just have 55% of the vote that has been tallied up thus far statewide. So really appreciate you guys checking in on the KTVU live stream tonight to get some of the early local election results from around the Bay Area and of course across California. The 10 o'clock news is up next. Appreciate you checking in with us tonight.